Sorry, hold on. Okay, welcome to tonight's Carmel Clay Board meeting, Tuesday, August 12th. Katie, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Jonathan Blake. Jim Garrettson.
Present.
Judy Hagan. Absent. Jen Christunis.
Here.
I am here. Katie Mueller. Josh Orhood.
Present.
John Shapiro.
Present.
Riti Shukla. Mark Westmeyer.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you, and we will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:04. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, we will start our meeting with public comments. I would like to remind everyone that our rules are you may come to the microphone. I'll tell you what to do. The board will not engage. We'll just allow the public to share your requests and concerns. And our time limit is 2 minutes. If you would like to go ahead, Joe, and come to the microphone, you'll turn the microphone on so that the green light is showing. We just ask that you speak into the microphone, state your address, and for the video record, if you don't mind, and then while you're here.
My name is Joe Sheets, and my address is 13738 Oak Ridge Road, Carmel, 46032. I'm here tonight to make comments regarding safety on the Monon Trail. My wife Cindy wanted to attend tonight, but at the last minute she was unable to. And I will keep under 2 minutes. What was once a tranquil, beautiful urban space has become a connector road with high-speed vehicles, including cyclists and motorized e-bikes and scooters, threatening pedestrians. The vast majority of Monon users are pedestrians. It's the tiny majority of high-speed cyclists, e-bikes, and scooters that increasingly pose a threat to the majority. Not the casual, polite bike riders like you and me. I'm talking about the Lance Armstrong wannabes. If you're walking on the Monon and it's very quiet, for about 2 seconds you'll hear this whoosh, and then soon, boom, there it is. And it passes you within 3 or 4 inches. And if you're not lucky, you don't hear that little whir. It's just suddenly there and gone. And you realize that if you had just turned left, you'd be dead or seriously hurt. It's that bad. And I'm certain that as members of the board of directors for the Park and Recreations Department, that all of you walk the Monon and have seen this problem firsthand. So this is not a surprise to anybody. My wife does not want our grandchildren to walk the Monon. It's dangerous. Many of my friends will not go. It's too dangerous. I believe that I'm qualified to discuss this. I've lived in Carmel since 1981, raised my family here, and I enjoy my grandkids here. I've averaged 10 miles a week on the Monon since it opened in 2011. That's about 7,000 miles of experience. So I feel I'm qualified to address this. I have witnessed this reckless behavior uncountable number of times, and it has increased dramatically over the past few years, to the point where I felt I had to take a stand. I'm not a rabble-rouser. I'm not an organizer. But this gets me going. What do others say? 2 weeks ago, I posted a question about Monon safety in Carmel on Nextdoor. Maybe some of you saw it. I received more than 55 comments, the vast majority agreeing that the Monon had become dangerous because of high-speed vehicles. And that's what they are, vehicles. I have the comments here, and I will leave them with you tonight, if I may. I also stood outside the Carmel Farmers Market the past 2 Saturdays and engaged with people and asked them how they felt about this issue. Invariably, couples with strollers or mothers with children or senior citizens agree 100%. And they weren't the only ones who agreed. Not a single person, not one, defended high-speed vehicles on the Monon. I would urge you to stand outside the city market at Farmers Market and do the same thing and get some feedback. So you can't come with a problem without a solution. So I propose an immediate solution and a possible second stage. But first, let me say clearly, I am not anti-biker. I ride my bike on the Monon. I am anti-high-speed vehicles, bikers, e-bikes, motorized. I know that you know this is a problem, and I know fixing it isn't easy. I also know from my communication with Mr. Mell, if I said that properly, a few weeks ago, that things are being considered to address this issue, so it's not news. Mr. Mell also told me that the speed limit was 15 miles an hour on the Monon. I have to say, I walk and ride the Monon all the time. I've never seen a speed limit sign. Maybe I missed it, but if there is one, I've never seen it. And I guess I wonder why 15 miles an hour is the magic number. There's a study that shows, I won't bore you, but you know, getting hit by something at going 15 miles an hour, it's a 1 in 6 chance of serious injury. I mean, that's 1 in 6. So I also say there's not enough room on the Monon, I'm about done. There's not enough room on the Monon to add a bike lane on either side or a center lane for bikers. It just can't be done. Therefore, the problem requires a 2-part solution in my opinion. First, I would address the psychological effects by placing signs like my shirt, which I'll show you in a minute, is the sign you've seen on next door. Placing signs at every Monon trail entrance that say, call out, slow down, share the Monon, addressed to bikers, and maybe midpoint in certain stretches. Now, I've heard people say that bikers won't change their behavior because of signs. Maybe true. But there can't be any downside. And I believe that through repetition, eventually, perhaps, some behavior will be changed. I also think that sends a strong signal to the majority of users of the Monon, the pedestrians, that the park board recognizes the problem. Secondly, I would propose perhaps a pilot program that other cities have used to control speeds on urban walkways. Now, I'm not an engineer or scientist. I'm talking about strategically placed rumble strips. And they can be designed such that if you're going 15 miles an hour or faster, it's uncomfortable. But if you're slower, it's not a problem. It can be done. I urge you to consider what you will do or what changes you will make after someone is seriously injured or killed. And I urge you to take those actions before that happens. Because it's not a matter of if, it's when. And it seems to me that the cost of some signs is a lot less than the cost of a major lawsuit from serious injury or death in the Monon. Let me be clear on my objective. I am not against bikes. I'm against high-speed vehicles, plain and simple. Carmel is a leader in so many things. It is looked at as one of the most desirable cities in the United States. The things that Carmel does are imitated by other cities. I urge you to please show leadership regarding safety on the Monon Trail. Thank you very much.
Could I ask a question? You live north of downtown.
I live in the village of Mount Carmel at 136 Mill Ridge Road.
Is that where you're noticing the problem?
Oh, it's everywhere. You can't miss it. I mean, here's where I go. I ride my bike over to the Roar Road entry point. You know, you take it to 146, you're going to get passed silently. If you're right at Midtown, if you're at Main Street, you know, that block or so, it's a little bad, but not too bad. It's when you get away from that 2-block stretch. And one of the things, you know, bikers, not everybody agreed 100% on next door. There were a few that said walkers were the problem. And they would say, well, you know what, they wear earbuds. They're not going to hear me when I call out. Well, I don't wear earbuds. So I think that's a weak excuse. I think you call out, period. my grandson almost got hit. You know, that's what got me here. So, thank you. Yeah.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry, again, thank you very much for your comments. If you wanted to leave what you had, if you want to give it to Mr. Mel, that'd be great. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Eric, do you have his contact information? Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So continuing with our agenda, staff reports. Curtis?
Thanks, Jen. Staff reports are included in your packets. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Wanted to point out a couple of things. Earlier this year, the park board took the action to name the native tree walk at Cary Grove Park after Jerry Kozlansky. The signage is now in place, so if you haven't been over there to check that out, I urge you to do that. Later this fall, we will have a dedication ceremony. We'll make sure that you guys receive invitations to that. And then I also want to point out we have Clifton Hoke here this evening, one of our newest park resource officers. We are elated to have them on board, and it's a great partnership. We've gotten great feedback from the community thus far, and great partnership with the City of Carmel Police Department. So I'm not going to make you get up and say a few words, but when you have a chance, you'll see Clifton around. So Caleb couldn't be here this evening, but make sure you say hello and introduce yourself.
Question. Why don't we have any speed limit signs on the Monon?
We do have speed limit signs on the Monon at various places, including at major intersections. So we can validate that all of them are still up, but we do have speed limit signs. And they all say 15 miles per hour.
You have a stop sign at Main Street too that no one looks at.
All we can do is put up the signage. We can't make people do what they're supposed to do. But we are thankful to the police department, including our park resource officers, who have been increasingly patrolling the Monon, educating people and trying to ensure people are using appropriate behaviors while using the Monon. So I see daily reports from the park resource officers, and there's a lot of education that's occurring, and we're very thankful for that.
We are getting ready to add additional speed limit signage along the Monon Greenway as well. As Michael said, we do have speed limit signage, but I think we're getting ready to add about 25 additional signs, both north and southbound, after doing a bit of an assessment. So,
Good.
Curtis, have you ever heard anything about rumble strips that work at different speeds?
yeah, we've looked at that before. The problem that creates is it becomes an accessibility issue.
Okay, I'd wondered about that.
Yeah, we've debated it. Having like a speed hump like you would see along an intersection at a crosswalk, but it does create, for the pedestrian traffic, it does create an ADA accessibility issue.
Yeah, that's a problem. I know that my wife and her friends were walking on the Monon, and they took his advice and yelled at a couple of the bikers. It did not turn out well. They became very aggressive.
Absolutely.
They got off their bikes and they threatened them. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever a good idea to.
Was he saying like on your left kind of yell in terms of the bikers calling out?
Yeah,
Is
the
that what he
problem
meant?
you have when you're out there sometimes, it's not always on your left. They're all over the place. They're
Yeah.
on your right, your left, and they'll go through the middle of groups of people. So it is a genuine issue. So.
Yeah, I interpreted his comments of wanting the bicyclists to announce themselves.
Yep.
But, I mean, his concerns are ones that we've all heard. I think we've all witnessed as well. I know it is a challenge not only here in Carmel, but on trail networks, especially popular trail networks throughout the country. Actually, our board president was talking about, in some email correspondence I had with her this week, that there's a lot of bicyclists in London where she is. So similar issues. Doesn't make it right. We really, as a society, need to be courteous of others. And, it's a shared space. And shared space means that we need to be as conscientious about those that are around us as we are about ourselves. And his points are well taken, and certainly don't at all want to minimize the concerns. But it is a shared responsibility that we all have to be cognizant of, park board, staff, as well as the general public. And, the one action that this park board recently took, as well as the city council, is updating it, because we used to have a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on the Monon north and south of the central core. And we unified and made that a consistent 15 miles per hour throughout Carmel. We also added a provision that had never been within the park rules or city ordinance that prohibits reckless use of the Monon. So someone going too fast, zooming in and out, those types of things that would be considered reckless in driving a vehicle on 116th Street or College can also be cited now on the Monon. So we've tried to provide the police more tools to be able to address those concerns. Without having a police at literally every intersection and in between, it's no different than the police trying to stop speeders on a street. They have to be there to witness it and to address it. But there definitely is a enhanced presence on the Monon by police, and especially with our park resource officers. So I think we're taking efforts to try to address as many of the challenges as we face.
Michael, have you talked to Marion County and Westfield? Do they have a 15-mile-hour limit, or?
That in my experiences, I've not seen speed limit signs. Curtis, do you know?
Yeah, Westfield's is 20 miles an hour, so it is different than Carmel's. I'm not familiar with Marion County's ordinances.
Shouldn't we be having discussions with them? It has to be a common problem.
Historically, there's not been a lot of cooperation or spirit of discussion, especially as we go south of 96th Street. We do have conversations, including with a park board member in Westfield, on a regular basis. But obviously, Westfield also has different perspectives on a variety of things, including the use of golf carts that have not been, and I would strongly oppose within the trail networks within the city of Carmel. In not everywhere, but on portions of the Midland Trace, which would be, like our Hagen Burke, and that's something that I would strongly oppose.
I'd also just chime in anecdotally as a bike rider who doesn't zoom and does call out, but I do habitually ride north. There's less of an issue because there's just less traffic once you get north of 146th Street, both pedestrian and biker. And so as you get through Westfield, especially once you get near Grand Park, that's where you sometimes slow down based on tournaments and things going on there. But there's no comparison on the amount of people using the trail as there is in Carmel, because I choose very specific times that I will ride my bike from Main Street in Carmel near where I live and choose to go south based on how many people I know are typically out and in those areas. So I'm not saying the issue doesn't exist there. I just think it's a whole different conversation.
It's a variety of challenges that we face, and some of them are the challenges of success. We have an incredibly popular trail. We know from a study that the IU Institute for Parks and Recreation, or Epley Institute for Parks and Recreation at IU did for us probably about 10 years ago, that our section of the Monon 10 years ago was already busier than the Broad Ripple section, which was historically the busy section. Not saying it's not busy still, it probably still is. But, even 10 years ago, and that was before all the development that we currently have within the central core was in place, was already busy. So the more people that are coming to our parks and greenways to use them, creates different types of challenges. But, other challenges that we do have are, like, for example, e-bikes. Certain e-bikes, certain classes of e-bikes under state statute are bikes and cannot be regulated differently than a standard bicycle, your good old-fashioned pedal-yourself bicycle. There are other e-bikes, which is where a lot of the education from the park resource officers are coming in, that are, by all intents and purposes, motorbikes that are not permissible. And, I'm not sure that that's completely understood, and certainly a point that, we're trying to make sure people better understand that. But, there are limitations that we also face where, I've even heard that you shouldn't allow e-bikes. Well, we can't, if we're going to allow bikes, we can't ban certain types of e-bikes because state statute says they're bikes. So, those are all things that we have to consider. And, if there was an easy button and an easy solution to it, we certainly would have implemented it a long time ago. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to look at potential solutions, look at what other communities are doing, not only in Indiana, but more so throughout the country and throughout the world to see what works and what doesn't. But I can assure everyone that it's not a Carmel problem. It's a universal problem, and we'll continue to try to learn from each other.
Our policemen now, they can give tickets.
Yes, they've always been able to, but especially now that all park rules are codified within city ordinance, it gives them the authority to enforce, and there are, for violations, they can issue citations.
And do we?
Thank you for that. Let's go ahead and move into our committee reports. I'm assuming, Curtis, you're finished, sorry, with, okay, thank you. Finance Committee, Mark?
Finance Committee met on July 15th, and we were presented the budget by all of our senior management. And they did an exceptional job of explaining it, and a number of you were there for that. And the result was the committee came up with a unanimous approval to recommend the budget to the full board for approval.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and continue with the minutes. Katie?
I move to approve the minutes of the Park Board meeting on July 8th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of Katie's motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Katie. And financial reports. Mark, Treasurer.
I move to acknowledge the consolidated financial report for June 2025, as well as Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation P&L statements for July 2025.
Second.
Thank you, Mark and Katie. Any questions on our financial reports? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carry. I'm not leaning close enough to the microphone. Sorry. All right, and then claims, Treasurer.
I move to approve claim sheet for August 12th, 2025, as well as the Carmel Clay payroll for July 11th, 2025, and July 25th, 2025.
Second.
I believe that was John, right? Okay, thank you. Mark and John, all those in favor, or, sorry, do we have any questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monetary gifts, grants, partnerships, and sponsorships. Mr. Meal.
Thank you. Pretty simple for you all tonight. So we had two contributions, two donations. $20 donation from an unknown MCC guest. I mentioned this last month where we had the $3 donation. This was a $20 donation towards staff appreciation from a guest that had left money as kind of a tip of sorts to our staff. And then a $100 donation from our anonymous donor for staff appreciation as well.
Thank you. I'll be looking for someone to make a motion, please.
I motion to accept monies as received. Monies as received.
Thank you, Katie. And second, someone?
Second.
Thanks, Sheree and Reedy and Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thanks for the business part. And new business, Curtis.
All right, I guess it's my show the rest of this evening because I'm every new agenda item tonight.
Yeah, let's keep it short and to the
I'll
point.
do my best.
Just joking.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of presenting the proposed 2026 budgets for Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. I do have the pleasure of having the division directors with me this evening, and they're going to present their respective budgets. They know them much better than I do, and they're going to help answer questions or provide additional context as needed. As Mark noted, the culmination of this group had the opportunity to present the budget to the Finance Committee at the July 15th meeting, where we did receive a favorable recommendation. If we hadn't, we wouldn't be here tonight presenting this. We would, but it would be a different budget, I guess. If you're on the Finance Committee and you're here, you get to hear a lot of the same information all over again. So congratulations. One thing I did want to note is there's going to be plenty of opportunities for questions tonight. So one thing I do ask is that you wait until, or hold your questions until the end of each of the individual budgets has been presented, which will basically be the end of each slide. So it's one slide. If we can just hold questions to the end of each slide, that would be phenomenal. It's really hard to begin presenting budget numbers and then have to come back or try to pick up where you left off when you get a question. I understand there might be something that comes up, but if we can just wait till the end of the slide, that would be absolutely phenomenal. So without further ado, before I go to the next slide, do you have any questions? Awesome. All right. Let's talk about the 2026 combined budget. The total projected expenses are $27,438,591. The total expenses associated with the 2026 budget can really be broken down into two buckets, operating and capital. The operations budget is $21,223,676. These are funds that we need to cover things like staffing, supplies, and the services of the department. And our capital budget, as proposed, is $6,214,915. As the name suggests, these are funds that we need to do capital improvement projects throughout the park system. The department's enterprise funds, otherwise known as the ESC 108 fund, the MCC 109 fund, and the Rec Facilities 110 fund, are projected to generate income totaling $14,572,280. And as proposed, all three budgets are projected to achieve over 100% cost recovery, which is really the goal for the enterprise funds. The 2026 Fund 101 and the 103-1101 budgets, the 1101 cash account, that request of the City of Carmel is $8,198,223, which I will discuss just a little bit more here in just a little bit. And last but not least, approximately $4,756,725 of the total expenses are attributed to a budget appropriation request for existing but unappropriated dollars in the non-reverting Park Capital Fund 103, Cash Account 1103, and the Park Impact Fee 106. Both of these budgets do require approval by both the Park Board and the Council, but they both have dedicated funding sources, so no new money will be needed by the City of Carmel. Just so the Park Board's aware, if you're not familiar with all the different budget account numbers, because it can get confusing, funds available for use in the 1103 cash account are funds solely received from Clay Township as part of the local income taxes that they received as part of the Central Park Bond. And then the funds available for CCPR's use in the 106 Park Impact Fee, just like the name suggests, are fees received from Park Impact Fees. One item that I wanted to point out that has changed since we did meet with the Finance Committee. When we initially received budget guidance from the City of Carmel, they were not sure if they would be providing cost of living adjustments in 2026. At the time, they were only proposing to provide longevity and step increases. And then about 2 weeks ago, Michael and I got notification that they were going to provide a COLA again. So when we presented to the Finance Committee, that was kind of taken into account. And what we were proposing was a maximum not to exceed 2% pay increase for our staff, contingent upon a performance appraisal. But we did reserve the right to adjust the general fund, all the budgets actually, the expenditures related to all the budgets, if the city provided a COLA. Since they're giving a 3% COLA, what you'll notice is that some of these numbers have changed a little bit, especially on the expense side of things, because we have updated our budgets and now we are proposing a maximum not to exceed pay increase for our staff of 4%, which is typically what we would do in a normal year. So I just wanted to point that out before I get going. Any questions? Perfect. Am I doing all right, Jen? Mark, go ahead.
Is the city doing performance appraisals now?
They are not, but that is a system that they are planning to transition to. I don't know if that will be sometime later this year or at the beginning of 2027. Michael, I don't know if they've provided you with any of that information or not.
So I know the city has completed a salary study that they're in the process of beginning to roll out. Actually, at Monday's city council meeting, they're starting to implement some of the recommendations, which includes putting minimum salaries for each of the positions, sort of similar to how we've done to ensure compression. They haven't specifically told me, or I haven't been in every meeting, but I'm surmising they're trying to address some of the same challenges we did when we implemented minimum salaries for our full-time positions. I do believe they are doing some degree of performance reviews, but it's not currently tied to their compensation, their raises that they receive. They are transitioning, I believe, either next year or maybe I think this is the last year that I've heard that they're going to get their step increases. And I think longevity pay isn't being proposed to go away. But afterwards, I believe the plan, as I understand it, is that they'll start doing true performance appraisals. So I know the mayor is a strong proponent of the types of systems that we have had in place for quite some time here at Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. So by all appearances, it looks like the administration is trying to move their compensation structure to be more similar to what we already do.
Okay, just for edification purposes, when we're talking about this, we're talking about the salaried employees of the city, not police and fire. Because they're
It would be
handled
my
differently.
presumption that police and fire's compensation, at least for those that are in the union, are dictated by the terms of their contracts.
Correct. So it's the normal city employees is what we're talking about.
Yes, correct.
And since I'd heard that over 10 years ago, they were looking at it, would be nice if they actually move forward for everybody.
Based on a conversation I had with the mayor last week, yes, it sounds like she's very supportive of that. Obviously, she doesn't work in a vacuum, so there needs to be some buy-in from city council to do transition. But I've seen the most proactive measures to change the compensation structure to be more like what you would expect in the 1980s, let alone the 2025s. I'm seeing true action to move towards that.
Any other questions? All right, let's get right into the nuts and bolts of this. Let's talk about the General Fund 101 budget request this year. These are funds solely funded by the City of Carmel. Again, this is what has been proposed. Michael and I did meet with the mayor last week, where Michael presented the budget to the mayor. And I wanted to just note that while we're hopeful that we receive everything that we're asking for, there is a high probability that something may get cut out. At the beginning of the year, or at the beginning of the budget cycle, the city's guidance that we received basically noted that they were basically trying to understand the impacts of legislation, Senate Enabled Act 1, on the 2026 and 2027 budget. So they did ask city departments or departments receiving funding from the City of Carmel to look at potential ways to save money, basically. The beautiful thing about the way that they do budget is you basically build it in the programs and then you prioritize the program. So if there are items that could potentially be cut out of this request, we kind of provided the roadmap for them to do that with. We are in a very unique position in that there are many amenities that are coming online in 2026, which are going to require additional funds for the department. Nevertheless, we do strive to be good partners, and we try our very best to accommodate the city's requests. So with that in mind, our total proposed budget in the General Fund 101 request for 2026 is $6,740,033. This is a 5% or $324,314 increase from our 2025 budget. Our top 5 expenses are personnel at $4,145,292. This comprises 62% of our budget. In 2026, we are budgeted for 34 full-time positions, which is no change from the number of staff funded by the general fund in 2025. I do want to note that while the total number of full-time positions remains unchanged, our personnel services budget request for 2026 is slightly higher than what we received in 2025, though it could have been significantly more. To keep the personnel budget steady, despite the additional amenities and operational needs coming online, we did strategically shift the expenses for 2 full-time human resource and recruitment staff from the general fund to our ESC SES Fund 108 and the MCC Fund 109. This adjustment offset the cost of adding 2 new full-time custodial positions, which are included in that proposed 34 full-time position count. Those positions are needed to assist us in maintaining the additional amenities that are coming online in 2026. Basically, this move resulted in a net savings of approximately $121,006 to the general fund budget. So basically, instead of requesting an additional $324,000, this could have looked more like $440,000. So we did save money by making that move. Moving on to grounds maintenance. Grounds maintenance represents $828,188, or 12% of the budget request. This is contracted mowing and landscape services. Utilities represents $377,450, or 6% of the budget request. This is comprised of electric, natural gas, water, sewer, cable, phone, and trash. Other contractual services represents $331,015, or 5% of our budget request. A majority of this is linked to the Park Resource Officer Program, which has received phenomenal feedback. They're doing a great job with community engagement. They're assisting with things like staff training and park patrols. And then other rentals and leases is $179,923, or 3% of the total budget request. This includes lease of 14 vehicles through the Enterprise Fleet Management Plan, and in 2026, we are requesting to acquire 5 additional vehicles through the city's capital lease program. This is their mechanism for acquiring vehicles. I don't remember exactly I think in 2020, we began transitioning a lot of our fleet vehicles to Enterprise Fleet Management Plan. The new administration has a little bit of a different stance on how vehicle acquisitions are occurring, so we're actually buying them again. We're buying them, but we're financing them through what's called a capital lease program. That top 5 total is $5,861,868, or 87% of our total budget. I'm going to get through this next slide. Whoops, I guess I should have pulled that up before I went through it. Sorry about that. So what's driving the increase? A majority of the increases are within the services line items and are attributed to amenities that are under construction and will become the department's responsibility in 2026. This includes the Monon Boulevard Phase 3 and the Japanese Garden expansion. Both of these new amenities require extensive groundskeeping and pruning, so that contributed to an increase of $121,000 in the grounds maintenance line items. We've also requested some additional funds for cleaning and upkeep needs to assist with litter that's left behind with evening activities and major events that are being facilitated in the Monon Boulevard, Midtown Boulevard area. After our staff have gone home for the evening, we're staffing those spaces pretty late into the evening, but there's always some stuff that's happening after our staff go home. So we did give the city the option of funding or providing an additional $60,000 in our cleaning and contracted services line items to the tune of about $60,000. This would allow us to bring in Janie King to assist with some of those needs. We are expecting some increases to utilities, particularly water and sewer, due to the conversion of the Monon Boulevard splash pad, which we just finished up this spring. So we request an additional $49,000 in utilities. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but $35,131 of the increase is in the other rentals and leases line item. This is for those additional capital leases, those 5 vehicle acquisitions that we want to make. Some of those vehicles were approved in the 2025 budget. We just haven't been able to acquire them yet. The city put a bit of a hold on those types of acquisitions, again, as it was trying to understand the impact of legislation on the 2025 and 2026 and 2027 budgets. And then other minor increases include additional funds for general insurance to cover the new amenities that we're bringing online. So we asked for an additional $25,000 in general insurance. If you add these items up, these 5 items up, these items that are driving the increase, they represent $290,000 of the $324,000 increase. The remainder of the increase is attributed to the personnel, again, the 4% pay increase that we're budgeting for, and then some minor increases to health insurance premiums. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have with regards to the 101 general fund budget request. Mr. Westermeyer.
Summarizing, 99% of our cost increase are due to things the city has given to us to maintain.
That is, go ahead. I'll leave it.
So the Japanese garden, we can share the love to the township because they're the ones that funded the increase, the major upgrades to that we're inheriting. So much of it is the city, but a little bit is the township.
Not department driven was the point I was trying to make.
That is correct.
Thank you. Mr. Garrettson. Correct. Yeah. So go ahead. The city does their pay increases a little bit different. So their staff receive they receive a cost of living adjustment. In 2026, that will be 3%. So their staff, they get that 3% increase without a performance appraisal. They also receive step increases and longevity pay, depend upon how long they've worked for the city. So they automatically will get those pay increases, no performance appraisal required. Our staff are eligible for a 0 to 4% pay increase, contingent upon a performance appraisal. So if you're a high performer, you can qualify for a 3 or 4% pay increase. If you're not, then you may not work for the department too long. Not trying to be snide, but that's the reality of how we operate. That's accurate. Correct. Yeah, we budget so that our expenditures take into account if every single person in the department would receive a 4%, but every year it is lower than 4%. It's usually in the 3.9, 3.8 range, something like that. Yeah, when you look at 81 staff members across the department, most of our employees are high performers, and the ones that aren't, we eventually will weed out. We want staff that are bought into the culture of who we are as a department and are high performers and can function in the capacity that we need them to. And most of our staff, they do very well. So.
Another factor in that, Jim, is that our people are working a 40-hour week, and they're not.
That is a good point.
That accounts for a percentage difference. Yes. Yes, it does.
Any other questions on the general fund budget request? All right, let's go on to the Park Capital Fund 103, the 1101 cash account. Total proposed budget in 2026 is $1,458,190. This is a substantial increase from our 2025 request. It's actually would be a $1,194,190 increase from our 2025 request, which is like, I don't know, 400% or something.
Now, I will point out,
Thank you.
actually, it's not our request. Last year, we requested $2,050,000. We got $248,000. So it's the increase from what was actually given to us, not what we requested last year.
Yes, but I do have to point out that the city did provide us funding for like Bear Creek Park. That was in this budget request last year, but they did it via bond, and we got much more than what we had asked for. So reality of it is, yeah, we received $200-some thousand last year. So this it appears to be a significant increase, but we'll see what happens. So the sole purpose of this funding source is for capital improvement projects of the park and recreation system. And just like the general fund 101 budget, the 1101 cash account is fully funded by the city of Carmel. So again, it could change. A majority of this budget, or approximately $1,120,000 of it, is for repairs to Central Park East Drive. This includes engineering, milling, repaving, repairs to drainage and inspection. And when we met with the mayor, this was actually like Bear Creek Park last year. This was an item that they they noted could be a potential bond, something that they would address through a potential bond. The key is really that we receive the funds for the repairs, and I'm not sure that we really have a preference how the city decides to fund those projects. The remainder of the request in this budget is for Monon Greenway improvements, $90,880. This includes gravel shoulder repairs outside of the central core, where the gravel shoulder starts and ends. Basically, if we don't complete those repairs, it starts to dilapidate the integrity of the trail. So we want to make sure we stay on top of that. We also have some solar stop sign replacements included in the budget, and then some asphalt repairs in a couple of key locations. And then last but not least, other structure improvements is $228,310. Just like last year, we're asking for funds for hazard tree removals, invasive species management, miscellaneous concrete repairs, and some parking lot striping. In addition, we have some key asphalt repairs along the Hagenberg Trail. And then we've included funding for Central Park security infrastructure upgrades, specifically installation of fiber network and parking lots and additional cameras. I'm actually going to present this item a little bit later in the agenda. Again, this was something that was approved as part of the 2025 budget, but since we're acquiring it via capital lease, the payments won't be due until 2026. And then we have two deferred items that were approved as part of the 2025 budget, but we haven't been able to acquire those yet. Again, the city's trying to better understand the impacts of SEA 1 on their budget. So we're proposing once again to attain via capital lease in 2026. Trail counters, automated trail counters. Right now, our staff have to manually extract the data. It takes an inordinate amount of time. And then Monon Greenway Phase 2 signage. One thing I wanted to note on those two items is that if we acquire those, the acquisition would be made after July 1st, that we only would have to make one payment in 2026. That's just, again, strategically, how can we be good partners and save the city a little bit of money? And that's how we would do that with the capital leases on the trail counters and the Greenway Phase 2 signage. And then last but not least, we've budgeted $19,000 for furniture and fixtures. And really, this is just basic maintenance needs for items along the Monon Boulevard, like bocce ball, shuffleboard, and table tennis. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions with this budget. Seeing no questions, we will go to Enterprise Fund 108. Jen, do you want to use the handheld or do you want to use this mic?
Good evening. I'm Jen Brown, ESE and Summer Camps Director. Glad to be here with you this evening. So I'm here to present the ESE 108 Fund for 2026. So we are projecting $6,428,000 in revenues and $6,405,724 in expenses. This gives us a 100% cost recovery. Our top three revenues are our before and after school fees. So those account for about 68.6% of our overall revenues. And that's $4,412,000. These are inclusive of some very nominal fee increases in our after school program fees for the current school year. 29.8% of our revenue comes from summer camp fees. So that's $1,914,000. We're not projecting any fee increases currently for our 2026 summer camp series. And then 1.6 is everything else. So those are sponsorships, donations, interest, late fees, accounting for 102% of our revenue. Top five expenses are by far largest expense is personnel. 73% of our expenses are dedicated to that. $4,677,659. And that accounts for 28 full-time positions in our 108 fund. 6% comes from field trips and bus rentals. So these are all the super fun things we do with kids during the summer, taking them to area attractions. And that's 382,560. This also includes the water park admissions that we pay for camps to go to the wonderful Monon Community Center water park. And 5% of expenses are accounted for with facility rentals, so $288,650. This is summer camp use of the Monon Community Center, Jill Perlman Pavilion, Wilfong Pavilion, also the 3 Carmel Clay School middle schools, and the Aledo Family Sports Complex through the Carmel Dads Club. Also includes our lease of our office right across the hall here in the John Hensel Government Center. 4% comes from other professional fees, so that's $268,025. These are payment processing fees, payroll fees, bookkeeping services. 2% goes to food supplies. So these are the snacks for our kiddos in the after-school program. We purchase these from the district, which works out really well for us. $137,500 going to food supplies. So that's 90% of our total budget in those top 5 expenses. Some other notable accomplishments. We are starting our 20th school year of the Extended School Enrichment Program, serving the Carmel Clay School community. It's very exciting for us. We also served 2,188 students in our before and after school programs during the 24-25 school year. And this past summer, we served 7,552 camper enrollments through our summer camp series. Any questions from the board? Yes, Mark?
Jen, when was the last time there was a fee increase on both before and after school as well as summer camps?
So we increased our summer camp series fees by $5 a week. That started with this past summer, 2025. And then for our before and after school program, essentially how it works, Mark, is once we increase the summer camp fees, the following school year will increase the ESE fees. So we do that every other year.
That makes sense. I was looking at the trailing report, and I was especially focused on how ESE has done since COVID.
Yes.
And that number has now exceeded what we were well doing before COVID. And it's been a very nice, healthy growth. And I saw the line is so steady. It's like I knew we had to be managing those fees. It's somewhat different than we were in the past, perhaps. So.
Yeah. So we've seen quite a bit of increased enrollment in our after school programs and our summer camp programs too in the last few years. So we're glad that we can meet the demand of the community and hopefully offer some very well received, high quality programs for
Great.
everyone.
Phenomenal job.
Thank you. Any other questions? I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen.
Test, test.
All right. If you don't mind. It's not working up here. Well, good evening, everybody. I see some new faces, so I may be a new face as well. My name is Mike Normand, Director of Rec Facilities and Programming. Get these numbers up here shortly. So we'll just continue into the 109, the Monon Community Center Fund. Thank you, Curtis. So projected for 2026 revenues, as you can see, $7,897,780, compared to the expenses of $7,856,491, which is 101% cost recovery. Top five. Let's try this. There we go. I'll go through the top five revenues here. So memberships, that would be to our Monon Community Center and Water Park, would be $4,866,200, or roughly 62%. Day passes and our 10 visit value passes, $1,615,580, roughly 20%. Our recreation program fees, $607,000, or roughly 8%. Concessions and vending, $230,000, about 3%, and then aquatics program fees, $197,000, or 2%. So the top five total, $7,515,780, or about 95%. Top five expenses, personnel, of course, $4,302,141, or about 55%. So that funds 20 full-time staff. I think an additional one, so we'll be at 21. As Curtis mentioned, we'll have taken on some HR and marketing positions. Utilities, $724,500, or 9%, electricity, gas, water, phone, cable. Repairs and maintenance, $554,500, or about 7%. So all of our repair parts, contracted maintenance. Cleaning services, about 4%, $330,000, contracted janitorial services, and then marketing and printing, $302,500, roughly 4%. Top five total, $6,213,641, or roughly 79% of the total budget. And to wrap up the 109, I will mention that part of the membership total is taking into account a projected membership increase, a modest increase. So every 2 years or so, we have an incremental slight increase in our membership rates. So with that, any questions? Yes, sir.
Not so much budget questions, but how many days during this hot summer did you have to stop letting people in?
So how many days we hit capacity and then had to restrict? We
Yeah.
go, once we hit capacity, then we go to a one in, one out. So we need some people to leave before we can allow others to enter. I don't have that exact number on the top of my head. I can certainly look into that. I know there were quite several days, if not every week, there would be a number of days we'd be hitting capacity.
Do you have any idea of the number of out-of-township people using versus township people?
I do. We do track that. So again, that's data I could pull to look at residency status of who's purchasing the day passes as well as membership residency status. So, sorry, again, I don't have that off the top of my head.
You don't have a ballpark figure?
For day passes to the water park, that's probably going to be in the 80 to 90% range of non-residents purchasing day passes for water park admissions. Membership-wise, again, ballpark, I want to say maybe 55% of our membership base is residents versus 45% being non-residents. And I'd have to confirm that, but that's roughly based on the last data I pulled.
Are you getting any complaints?
Regarding non-residents? Not any more so than usual. I know that there has been chatter about non-residents using our facilities, but again, we're open to all, so.
Do we have a differential in fees?
We do for both day passes. So we have well, I'll explain it this way. We have residents of Carmel can receive a discount on their day passes. They also receive a discount on their monthly and annual memberships. So yes, we do. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Jim, just so that we have it on the record, The water park was constructed specifically to draw people from outside of Carmel. That was the design parameters for it in order to bring people into Carmel and experience Carmel.
Yeah, but we've grown quite a bit since the pool was created, and now we probably have a greater demand of residents to use it.
I don't know that I would agree 100% with that on the way it's used, because it was always designed and continues to be a regional attraction. And there hasn't been a lot of changes outside of what we've built in other cities
Right.
to provide anything different than when we originally built it.
Is it the second largest in the state?
I have no idea on that.
Do you know?
It's probably in the top 5. I mean, probably the largest municipally owned water park is in Lake County. Plainfield, I know, is larger than us. We may be number 3, but I would say safely we're in the top 5. Now, as Mark said, it was built as a regional attraction. I can say with confidence that even though the population of Carmel has grown, and Clay Township, part of Carmel's population growth has been over since we built this facility, because the city is annexed into the county, which already had population. So some of that growth for the city itself has been skewed by growth that we were already serving. But more importantly, you know, it hasn't been so great that, you know, Mike's estimates is pretty consistent with what I remember seeing too, where our day passes certainly skew very heavily non-resident. Our memberships skew more heavily towards our residents. So that means our residents are, especially through the memberships, getting the highest discounted rate to be able to use the facility. And for the water park, we actually want, I mean, in the perfect world, if we weren't just trying, if we were a business and not a governmental entity, trying to balance that component of trying to serve our residents while also having a mandate of 100% cost recovery. If I'm just looking at the 100% cost recovery cap, I'd prefer to have no memberships at the water park, because the memberships are heavily subsidized for the water park season. What we want are the day passes, which is what's driving and contributing to our cost recovery and ensuring that we don't have to rely on tax dollars to operate the water park. If we eliminated that 80 to 90% of non-residents, or even cut them in half, I guarantee you there are not enough residents in Carmel that would purchase day passes to make up the difference. And they certainly wouldn't want to pay the price differential we'd have to charge to make up the difference of the loss of non-residents. For the building, the Monon Community Center, the fitness components, the gymnasium, that's a complete different model. That one is a facility that our revenues are driven off of memberships, and we are highly dependent on that, and they help cover our total operating expenses. And it creates this challenge between our two major facilities, our two major revenue drivers, one which has to have memberships to be successful because you can never get enough day passes for the building, and another that is heavily dependent on the day passes, because if you have too many memberships, the dollars and cents of it don't work from an expense side versus revenues. And if you get the pricing between the two too off, you drive in the water park, if we increase the day passes without addressing the memberships, which again is predominantly used by our residents, then you're moving people to that highly discounted thing, and you're out of balance, and you're not making enough money to cover your operating expenses and needing to rely on tax dollars. But conversely, if we get the memberships too high, then it creates challenges for the water park. So it's a finely tuned Swiss watch, if you will, and if you get it too far out of alignment, it takes us out of cost recovery, and it requires more tax dollars, which the city and the township don't have to give to us. So it really is a balance. And, you know, if we weren't on a cost recovery model, then you wouldn't have, I mean, you could have a completely different pricing structure that heavily favors our residents, especially for the water park. But that's not the model that we've been given since I've been here for 21 years. And I don't see with the financial challenges that SEA 1 and the other legislation that impacted how taxing is done in the state of Indiana, I don't see that model truly changing because it would require more money, more tax dollars, and no one wants to give us more tax dollars.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
listening to Jen about when an ESE program started, that would be the time that you were in high school, and my daughters were in high school.
Maybe.
And what I find very interesting is over these 20 years, how everything has worked out. And to see you from knowing you as a high school student to today, you've done a phenomenal job.
Well,
And to know
thank
you and your wife and beautiful children, as well as my daughter now has a child, you're all in your mid-30s and life is moving forward. So
very kind. Thank
very
you.
wonderful job you've done.
Appreciate that. Happy to be here. All right. Well, we will move on to the 110 if there are no further questions. So Park and Rec facilities. All right, let me just pull everything up. All right, so the 110 Park and Rec facilities, this would be Dog Park, Wilfong Pavilion, Joel Perlman Pavilion. Projected revenues, $246,500. Projected expenses, $221,428. Top three revenues, dog park fees, $115,000. That consists of our roughly 750 dog park memberships, 47% of our revenue. Facility rentals, 74,000 or roughly 30%. A major chunk of that is going to be rental fees for the pavilions, for our summer camp programs. And then park shelter rentals, 55,000 or 22%. And that would be our picnic shelter or park shelter rentals that we do throughout the year at all of our other park properties. So top three total, 99%, pretty much the whole projected budget there. Top five expenses, repairs and maintenance, 48,200 or 22%. Repairs at the dog park and the pavilions. Utilities, $39,050, 19%. General insurance, $27,200, about 12%. Cleaning services, $26,500, about 12%. Janitorial services at the pavilions. And then part-time personnel, $19,378. So the top five consists of about $160,328 or 72% of the budget. Happy to take any questions regarding the 110. Yes, sir.
This is kind of a weird question, but we charge $40 to test the dog's defecation, right?
If
Before they can get in. And then if we find any remains, we test that.
So what we do is a DNA swab as part of the onboarding to become a dog park member. Obviously, the DNA swab is for the animal. That is then put into a database. Yes, there is a fee from the company that we pay, and then we're not making any money on that. We're just relaying that back to the member. Then we do collect samples if there are waste samples throughout the dog park. To send those in and get those tested, there is a fee. So then if there is a match, we find that member, and then we have dialogue with them to have them pay for the fine to cover the cost of the sample.
How is that working out? Is it percentage-wise or?
I would say that it's working out well in the sense that we have a very clean park. The samples we do find, those are productive conversations and really opportunities for us to educate the members about the program is real, and we will send samples in as the park requires. Percentage-wise, I don't have a good number to give you, but I know that, again, we have a very clean park. I visit there, and we do not have a lot of issues with waste, or we don't get a lot of that feedback, luckily.
But we've almost doubled the number we originally were going to let in there. How's that working out?
It's working out well. We've also, to account for that, we've expanded the footprint of the dog park as well. We've added, I don't have the exact timeline, but I know we've added a large wooded area. So we do not have congestion issues. At least I don't have a lot of feedback to suggest otherwise.
Do we find that most of our members are, who join that, are apartment people?
I couldn't say that. I wouldn't be able to confirm that. I would probably say that the majority are homeowners, if I had to guess, to be honest with you.
Recalling from some of the, when we were preparing the 5-year comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we did do some plots of where members, for the people, not the dogs, but I guess they're coming from the same place, where they live. And just looking at where the dots are, you see as heavy concentration on the east and west sides of Carmel. I mean, obviously there's heavy concentration within the central portion, which can be a combination of people that are living in multifamily versus single-family homes. But obviously, once you get to the east and west sides, they're probably predominantly single-family homes. So I think there's a very healthy blend of all types of residents.
Michael, how big is our dog park now? Or Mike, either?
Size?
Yeah.
Michael, 3 acres? 3 acres, roughly.
Okay.
There was a Michael that answered that. It just wasn't the two with the microphone. So
Voice in the crowd.
Due to an abundance of Michaels, I do go by Mike, so. So yes, roughly 3 acres.
And at any given time, how many people, or dogs rather, because a person can bring more than one, do you think are there at any given time?
Definitely would depend on, as you know, the day and time of day. Favorable weather, weekends would be higher peak usage. I know that it's actually something we want to expand on our ability to pull this data. We don't have very good infrastructure right now to pull something on an app or software and have that available to us. We have to do a lot of manual searching for that. So I would be guessing. We have limited parking there, but we also know a number of our users walk with all the trails nearby. So I probably could better answer that here with some time if we are able to get, we're looking into some people counters or something that's going to monitor the traffic a little bit better for us to be able to answer that. But again, I have not received an overwhelming feedback that we have a congestion issue, or we've actually received more feedback to the contrary, where, and that's probably due to the fact that we have a lengthy wait list still at this point, where people want to get into the park and may drive past at a time that
It's low.
is a low time, not a peak time, and think that there isn't a lot of usage. But that's just a balance, again, with we don't want it too much traffic on the turf, and the wear and tear on the park would deteriorate the experience and the quality of the park as well. So.
And we still have certain areas, right? We have the small dog area, the...
Correct. We have a small dog area, then what we would call an all dog area, where any size dog would be welcome. The small dog area is specifically for those smaller dogs.
And then a trail-ish area.
A trail that goes through a wooded area on the, what is that, the east side of the dog park.
and then we have the area that is the wood mulchings, that is the agility course.
Yes.
I've never been there when you've had dogs there. Do the owners go into the area with them
Yes, they do.
on leash or
Off leash.
off leash?
Correct.
So you have people in there too.
That's right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you all.
All right, at this time, I'm looking for two motions.
So I think our motions are on page, hold on, I have to make this bigger. I can't even read it. 85. Am I on the right section? 85? If anyone's on page 85.
I think you're correct. I see him.
And I believe we can make, yeah, those two motions, and we can make the motions together, right, Zach? We may? Okay, good.
I move to approve Resolution B 2025-003 and Resolution B 2025-004.
Second.
Thank you, Katie and Jim. Any questions before we move on? Any questions before we move on? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving Katie's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Curtis?
Before I go on any further, I just want to say I'm so proud of Mike and Jen. Every year they present, they do it a little bit better every single year. You guys nailed it. So awesome job. Michael Allen, I feel like you need to get up here and talk though. So if you want to present this, you can. No? All right. All right, moving on. This next agenda item is for budget appropriations for the Park Capital Fund 103 cash account 1103 and also the 106 Park and Recreation Impact Fee Fund. Again, both of these budgets do require approval by both the Park Board and the City Council, but the budget request is to appropriate funds from cash reserves. So Park Capital Fund 103, the 1103 cash account, the total appropriation request is $2,756,725. The 1103 cash account, again, our funds solely, or the 1103 cash account funds are funded solely with local income tax received from Clay Township. Capital repair and replacement projects planned as part of this budget include drainage and fencing at Cary Grove Park in the amount of $30,000. A digital kiosk at the Monon Greenway North Trailhead. If you've been to Central Park, we have the digital kiosk activated within the trailhead within Central Park. We'd like to activate both of the kiosks at the North and South Trailhead, but we need the fiber infrastructure to be able to do that. The North Trailhead has the fiber, so we want to go ahead and activate that digital kiosk. At Enlow Park, we have some drainage issues near the pickleball court, so we want to address that. The administrative office has some asphalt repairs and some roof repairs. The roof is it's getting up there, so it needs the asset management plan, or the asset management plan that we facilitate as part of our addressing what our capital replacement projects need to be is telling us that it needs to be replaced. We want to put some additional speed limit signage within Central Park along the East Drive. If you've been to the West Drive, we have some of those in place. Those are a great means for letting individuals know that they're exceeding the speed limit and need to calm it down a little bit. And then last but not least, we have some asphalt and fencing upgrades that we want to complete at West Park. Additional items include the floating boardwalk at Founders Park. Michael talked about this at the last Park Board meeting, so I won't get into nuts and bolts of that. That may still be funded this year, but I included it in this budget just in case we don't get the quotes back this year. So hopefully that project happens still sometime this year, but I also included the funds in the appropriation request for 2026 in the 1103 cash account. We just acquired the Moffett Homestead over near River Heritage Park. We have some enhancements that we need to make to that. We're working with Ball State University right now. They're going to come in, they're going to do an assessment of the site. They're going to provide us with some detailed site drawings and help us prioritize the items that were identified in the inspection report as part of the closing. And then we have some pond bank stabilization at Bear Creek Greenway that we need to complete. The allocation also covers other structural and facility improvements, including equipment replacements at the Monon Community Center. We want to replace the pavers in front of the Monon Community Center. If you've been to the community center lately, those pavers are in need of some tender love and care. So we want to do something with those. Likely going to replace with some type of concrete. We also have fitness equipment included in this, some tile upgrades specifically to the aquatics locker rooms and the aquatics hallway. which is, it's not currently tile, it's an epoxy floor, so we want to remove that and make it and turn it into something that's a little bit easier to maintain. We have included changing out the water park pool filters, and then we have a contingency for unforeseen circumstances. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions with regards to the 1103 cash account. None? All right, let's go to the Park Impact Fee Fund. This one's really easy. It's a $2 million appropriation request. And again, funds received from the Park Impact Fee Fund are received from park impact fees that we receive as part of the zone improvement plan. For the sole use for this fund is for new capital development. These funds cannot be used for repairs and replacements like the 103 funds. The entire budget in 2026 is allocated towards Phase 2 development of Bear Creek Park. So these funds would be used to supplement the Phase 1 development that we budgeted for last year, and also that we received from the city's infrastructure bond that they passed towards the latter part of 2024. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the Park Impact Fee Fund 106. This is awesome. We're just moving along. Whoops. This is the part in the meeting where I'm asking for 2 additional motions for Resolution B 2025-005 and 2025-006.
They're on page 113. If anyone wants to click away to get there.
I move to approve Resolution B 2025-005 and Resolution B 2025-006.
Thanks, Rudy and Katie. Any questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Katie's motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Magic. Hal's back there with a little dial. Yep. Go ahead, Curtis.
The last budget item that I have this evening is the 2026 proposed salary resolution, and if approved, this would go into effect January 1st, 2026. For the new park board members, every 3 years, our department does conduct a comprehensive salary assessment where we benchmark salary and wage information with other local and national park and recreation agencies, as well as the city of Carmel. We did complete a study as part of the budget cycle last year in 2025, and the next study is scheduled to be completed in 2028. The salary resolution does not represent what an employee is actually making, but does provide a range, a minimum and a maximum that their salary falls within. All of our staff are above the minimum pay for their respective positions, and a vast majority of our staff are currently below the maximums for their positions. We do have a handful that are close to the max or at the max, but not very many. Most of our staff are not at the maximum. Overall, there aren't a lot of changes that are being proposed in the 2026 resolution, aside from the guidelines that are represented in the recommendations from the last salary assessment, which were to increase the maximum compensation by the May 2025 Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, and that was 2.4%. So the maximum salary for all positions has been increased by 2.4%. What this effectively means is that almost all of our employees are going to be eligible for that full 4% pay increase, contingent upon a performance appraisal, obviously. And then additionally, the minimum compensation for all of our staff was increased by 1%. And again, this was something that we proposed as part of the salary study that we did last year, but this is just to help us alleviate pay compression that was caused by the rising cost of our part-time staff. So we had some part-time staff that are getting really close to making, that were at the top of their range, getting close to making as much as our full-time staff. So why we increased that by 1% every year, just to keep that low end, that minimum end of the lowest pay range for our staff above the highest pay range for our part-time staff. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions with regards to the 2026 salary resolution.
Is that page 122?
I don't have my binder with me.
1 second, Jim.
Resolution's on 122, and the proposed motion is on 121.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution B 2025-006
Second.
Thank you. John, right? Thank you. All those sorry, are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor of Jim's motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that is it for our budget.
That is it. That is it for the budget. Outstanding.
Fantastic. Nice job, everyone. Thank you very much for all your hard work on that. There has been a lot of hard work that has gone into that this year. We appreciate it greatly. And I believe now, Curtis, you have consideration for bids for Central Park Boardwalk. Is that correct?
I do. Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
I'm sure most of you have visited Central Park and are familiar with the boardwalk within the park. It is an absolutely a beautiful amenity. If you haven't seen it, I do urge you to go out there and check it out. The boardwalk is original to the park. It's starting to deteriorate. The bad news is, as you can see in these photos that I provided, these are also in your park board packets. This has become a pretty common recurrence along the boardwalk. This first photo, and I have a pointer, but it doesn't work with the TV, so I'm just got to point at it with my hand, starting from left to right. This first photo is really representative of what has become the biggest problem, and that's the beams and joists of the boardwalk are beginning to rot out. And when we have to replace a deck board, we don't have anything to nail it into. So the second photo is of the underside of the board that was replaced. I'm not sure. I don't recall exactly if that was a beam or a joist. Again, I wanted to show some of the rotting that we're dealing with. And then this third photo, this is the abutment. These are limestone abutments that were, again, original to the installation of the boardwalk. This is where the trail and the boardwalk basically meet. There are 4 of these in Central Park along the boardwalk. So the great news is this boardwalk is being held up by helical piers located within the lagoon. And the structural material of those helical piers is hot dip galvanized steel. Those are in great shape. So that's the great news. We engaged Crossroads engineers to help us come up with a solution to address these issues. And there are several options, including rebuilding the boardwalk as it was built originally, going with some type of floating boardwalk like we are proposing at Founders Park. But what we ultimately determined is that what is the most cost affordable long-term solution is to install a modular boardwalk, specifically a Whitcraft system like we have in several of our park locations, Meadow Lark, along 116th Street at West Park and River Heritage Park. The Whitcraft system, just like those helical piers that are in great shape, uses a high-quality structural steel. Again, it's hot dipped, galvanized. And they actually come with a 100-year, you didn't hear that wrong, frame guarantee. So they're pretty confident in the structural integrity of their boardwalk system. I just want to point out this is the River Heritage Boardwalk, and this is what the structure of that boardwalk looks like, that hot dipped galvanized steel. To preserve the aesthetic appearance of the Central Park Boardwalk, we're still recommending utilization of the treated yellow pine for the deck boards and the toe kicks. These are stock photos from Whitcraft, just to kind of get a general idea of what that would look like. Because I do think that the boardwalk, I feel like aesthetically it's got a really great look to it. People love getting their family photos out there because it's a little rustic, and I don't want to take away from that. Ironically, what I'm asking the board to approve tonight isn't the boardwalk acquisition. We are planning to direct purchase that from Whitcraft, and we would bring that to the board in September, October for approval. But I'm asking the board to approve the demolition and the replacement or installation of the project, which we solicited bids for on July 30th. I thought it was really important to kind of talk through this so that you understood the whole breadth of what we're proposing before you took any action. We did receive 2 bids. One was from United Construction. They have experience installing several of these boardwalks for us. And the other one was from Morphy Construction. Morphy Construction is the contractor that's doing the White River Greenway North Extension for us. Included in the base bid were 4 alternates to replace the limestone abutments that I showed you in the photo earlier. And upon review, we are recommending that we award the base bid and all 4 alternates to United Construction, which was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, for a combined total of $497,303. They also provided a recommendation letter, which I provided in your park board packets. If approved, we would begin demolition on this in March of 2026, and we should have it completed by Memorial Day weekend 2026. So again, the bids were for demolition and installation of a Whitcraft system. I am anticipating bringing that to the park board hopefully next month, October at the latest. I've been in communication with Whitcraft. I did receive a quote back from them. I anticipated it to be somewhere in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. When we received the quotes, initial quotes for this last year, the prices were a little bit lower, but there are some additional things contributing to the cost increase, so they have to rework their quote. With that, I will happy to answer any questions that you have. Mr. Westermeyer.
Curtis, how about the edging where the limestone is? Are you going to use limestone again, or are you going to use
No.
asphalt?
Great question. I should have included that in here. We will not be reusing the limestone because it's a softer material and it flakes off. We'll be replacing the abutments with concrete.
Good.
Yes.
Just probably, well, you wouldn't know this. Michael, you may remember. We had quite a discussion about this at the construction meetings because the board at that time decided through their owner's manager to value re-engineer the original design.
Oh, no.
So the original design that it got moved down to, that you're now dealing with, is wood that is less than half the thickness of what we did at West Park.
Yep.
And I think that's probably contributing to the problem
Yep.
that we're now having, since West Park seems to still be going strong.
Yeah, West Park is in great shape, and again, it's another amenity that people go out to take family photos of, and it's showing it doesn't have this type of deterioration. Let's put it that way.
I remember the conversation well, trying to explain to the board, there is a difference between boards that are this thick versus this thick.
Yeah, it's a marine grade material as well. It just has held up significantly better.
So good. I'm glad we're moving forward and with the right material this time.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Anything else? Okay, I will take a motion. I believe it's on page 128, if anyone would like to read motion 1. And Zach, can we read 1 and 2 together, or would you prefer us to read them separately?
You may read these together.
Okay,
Again,
thank
yeah.
you.
I got you. I move to authorize the bid from and award a contract to United Construction for the base bid and alternates numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the amount of $497,303 for the Central Park Boardwalk Replacement Project, and authorize the director, the assistant director, and the Park Board legal counsel to take all actions necessary to complete the contracting process. In addition, I move that the Park Board delegate to the director and assistant director the authority to determine, in conjunction with the engineer, whether it is in the best interest of the board and the department to add or change an item or items in the contract with United Construction, and to approve each change order in an amount not to exceed his purchasing authority and in accordance with the applicable Indiana law regarding change orders, with a report to and ratification by the Park Board at a subsequent meeting.
You're welcome.
Second.
Thank you, John and Katie. Any further questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Curtis.
I know pictures say pictures say a lot about it in a presentation. I didn't have a good one for this one, so I just winged it. But this next item is Central Park Security Infrastructure Upgrades. This is a joint initiative of CCPR, the Carmel PD, and the Information and Communication Services departments, which includes improvements to the Central Park security infrastructure. This is, again, a top priority of the department. This includes installation of fiber at Westermeyer Commons and the east and west parking lots, as well as updates to our security cameras, exterior security cameras within Central Park. Both items will allow for proactive monitoring of the park. The City of Carmel did include funds. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the presentation. They did include funds in their general fund budget to make upgrades via capital lease in 2025. And as we discussed earlier, again, I'm including funds for this project in the 2026 budget. This project has been a little bit delayed. I think we wanted to get this done earlier in the year, but again, the City of Carmel put a hold on new capital leases in the first half of 2025 as it was trying to understand the impacts of legislation on future funding. City ICS took the lead in the public procurement process, and they recently let us know that authorization had been given to move forward with this particular project, this capital lease. The city has not authorized moving forward with all capital leases. This one has been authorized to move forward. Because we are more than halfway through the year, the bank is not going to require us to make any payments in 2025, so we'll make our first capital lease payment in 2026. I also want to note that because this is a city-initiated lease on behalf of CCPR, the City of Carmel is actually going to issue the purchase order with the bank, and that purchase order is going to require the signatures of the Director of Parks and Recreation, CEO, and the Chief Financial Officer. The total project cost is estimated to be $150,000, and with the capital lease structured as annual payments of approximately $30,000 over 5 years. So what I'm requesting is approval to move forward, as this project will significantly improve park safety for all users. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Mr. Westermeyer.
Does this allow for facial recognition or license plate reading as part of the camera system?
The license plate reading system is not included in this because we already have that infrastructure in Central Park.
So that won't be upgraded. Would keep using that same.
Yeah,
system.
we'll continue to use that system. The facial recognition, the cameras have the capability, but I don't know that I don't know if the software has been acquired yet. That'll have to be done on the city's end. So that this price that you're paying, that we would be paying, is predominantly for the fiber installation and upgrade of the cameras. The software would be separate, paid for by City ICS.
Will the city be monitoring these cameras?
I don't know. I don't honestly, I don't have that information. I don't know. You mean, will they be monitoring these cameras all the time in Central Park?
Have the ability to.
They will have the ability to monitor these
They
cameras. Yes.
notify the department at the times that they're doing that?
They do actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you meant will they be proactively watching the cameras all day, every day? I don't know that for certain, but they do a pretty good job when
Typically do that.
Yeah.
But
they do a really good job of informing us when there's been an occurrence or something that they're looking into, and they're looking at our camera system or
but
need
these
it.
are all exterior cameras.
Correct.
So do they have the same capability with our interior cameras?
They do have the ability to view our interior cameras currently as well. Yes.
Thank you, Cruz.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay. We are left with a motion that needs to be made. Again, this one's on page 132.
I move to authorize the acquisition of the Central Park security infrastructure upgrades in an amount not to exceed $150,000 utilizing capital lease financing. I further move to authorize the director, CEO, to take all actions necessary in coordination with the City of Carmel's Finance Department to execute this purchase.
Second.
Thanks, John, and thanks, Katie. Any further questions before we continue with the question? Okay. All those in favor of Katie's motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Curtis, I believe you're finished.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the great
You know,
presentations.
Curtis, I have to say you did a phenomenal job. You know, your original interview would have gone much faster if you'd have done this kind of presentation.
Well, thank you, Mark. That means a lot coming from you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I get a compliment from Jim Garrettson down there? No? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, especially from you too. Yep.
Thank you. Good night. We have nothing under old business, so we will continue with our attorney's report. Zach?
Yeah, just a few items to update you on and let you know what we've been working on. We finalized an easement with Kite for the corner site. We still have a little bit of work to do with Duke on that one. We finalized a draft with the city on a master management agreement, and we finalized the amended MOU with the city on the $2 million bond project, giving the park board full control, and we handled various personnel items.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Zach this evening? As always, Zach, we appreciate what you and the team do for us on a daily basis.
Do it.
Our director's report, I believe it was at our seats when we arrived today. Michael, would you like to continue?
Want to kind of draw out that's within the report is an update on Veterans Park. So this is actually part and partial with one of the infrastructure bond projects that was and is being financed by the City of Carmel's infrastructure bonds. And this gave an update a few months ago with regard to this in my report. And there's been some evolution on it, which I think has all been to the positive. Originally, this is that partial that used to have a whole bunch of trees on it, not all in perfect shape, but certainly a lot of trees that are immediately north of the VFW, and there's a hotel, I forget the name of the hotel, along Old Meridian Street and just south of Brewburger. And originally, there was a Park and Recreation Impact Fee credit that was granted to that development project by the Board of Public Works in 2023, and all that money would have gone to the Redevelopment Commission. Through a variety of discussions and truly a collaborative process with the Redevelopment Commission, I think we have a much better project that better defines if an impact fee credit is going to be provided, what it should look like. So what's going to happen is the park portion of it, which originally, as I presented, a portion of it was going to be on top of a parking structure, an underground parking structure, and part of the park would be on top of it, and then the rest of it would be on land, and that portion of it would be owned by the park board, with the portion on top owned by the developer. Expressed my concerns with that. Henry Mostetsky, the CRC director, heard my concerns clearly and advocated, and basically that's been changed. So all of the park property, about 1.53 acres, is actually going to be on land, not above a parking structure, fully owned, first by CRC, which transfers it to the city, which then ultimately will transfer to us once the development of it is finished with the bond proceeds. So we'll actually own that park, part and partial, have full control of it, which I think is a huge win. Additionally, there's 210 units that are proposed for this particular unit. It's going to be an age-restricted facility, rental apartments, but at least one person in the apartments is going to have to be at least age 55 or above to be able to get a lease agreement here. But of those dollars, 900, actually a little over 900, a little shy of $1 million, is actually going to be used towards the purchase price of the 1.53 acres. Total purchase price is a little under 1.6, so there's still some purchase acquisition that's coming out of that infrastructure bond, but certainly a lot less, which means there is more that from the bond that's going to be actually available for development of the Veterans Greenway as well as the park. So I view that as a huge win. We're actually buying a real park with impact fees. What a novel idea. There is going to be a $200,000 credit compared to what would have been $1.2 million going to the CRC. So I take this as a huge win for a connecting path from Old Meridian to the park. All the design of that is going to have to require CCPR approval. So it truly is going to be a public access point dedicated for public purposes for connection to that park. So again, all the money, all the impact fees are going to real infrastructure that is benefiting Parks and Recreation. So from where we started, which was getting nothing, to where we are ending, which is really infrastructure that is consistent with the intent of the Park and Recreation impact fee and the zone improvement plan, I take that as a huge win. I'm thankful for the city for pushing for this type of use of impact fees, or working and advocating for this type of use. I also have to give credit to the Redevelopment Commission and Henry, who have embraced that and I think came to us with a viable proposal. So super excited to report that. I also wanted to bring it because this is a fast-moving things. The details of it just were worked out very recently, and at the Monday City Council meeting, there'll be actually two resolutions that are introduced to council. One that has really nothing to do with us other than it's part of the process that makes the development project, the residential project moving forward, is a TIF-backed bond. So council has to approve that. So that resolution is going to be introduced on Monday, as well as the resolution that starts the transfer of property first from the CRC once they acquire it to the city, and the authorizing the acquisition of the additional dollars towards that property to purchase it. So that's going to be introduced at City Council. It is already been guaranteed by the Land Use and Special Studies Committee chair that that's going to go to committee. So it's probably going to be vetted out a little bit more, at least from the City Council perspective, but that will be introduced. I also was invited at the 11th hour. Let's see, I think it was 3:40 for I guess it was 3:20 for a 4 o'clock meeting with the Veterans Commission. This was discussed with the veterans, but one of the things that we will be doing is, under our authority that we now have under the MOU, we are engaging Ratio to develop the plans for Veterans Park. So Matt, who also chairs, Councilor Snyder, who chairs the Veterans Commission, he wanted this presented to the Veterans Commission as far as the development project, since it's right next to the VFW, and then he asked me to just kind of talk about our public input process. So we'll work very closely with the Veterans Commission to solicit the input. Obviously, the public will be invited to that as well, but ensuring that we're hearing, especially from veterans, as to what's incorporated into the designs for Veterans Park. But a lot of positive feedback, especially from the park's perspective, from the veterans at that meeting. But I did want to bring that to attention because I do anticipate that there'll be some public awareness of this project with it going to council next week. Like I said, all very positive in my opinion, and ensuring that monies dedicated for parks are truly going to parks, and it provides more of the $7.5 million in the infrastructure bond that's dedicated to Veterans Greenway can actually be used for building stuff instead of just buying stuff, so buying property. So happy to address any questions with regard to that or any of the other things. Yes, Mark.
Michael, is there any update on that Autumn Greenway? Have you got anything back from?
We have not. So for Autumn Greenway, which some of you may recall, probably all of you recall, we had some visitors that expressed some concerns about that proposed project. With that project now also transferred to us, I'm working with the engineering resources, and Y Engineers are jointly working on the designs for that particular project. They are, and I'm scheduled at the end of this month to meet with them. They are going to review with me and our team here. They looked at several possible routes, especially for Autumn Greenway. Concurrently with this, they're looking at the route for Veterans Greenway, but I think that one's pretty straightforward. But for Autumn, they're going to be presenting several potential options to staff. Obviously, anytime I've seen plans, there's usually questions and additional due diligence that's required, especially by the engineering team. So we'll work on that. And I've had communication with a number of the neighbors that have emailed me, and we've had a pretty good dialogue with a number of individuals, especially from Wilson Village, which is the older subdivision north of the approximate alignment of where we envision Autumn, as well as some of the other subdivisions around there. What I've committed to is in September or October. Obviously, it kind of depends on how good or additional information we need from those initial concepts that are shared with me or potential routes. We'll meet with the neighbors, share with them the different routes that have been evaluated, have a true opportunity for public feedback, concerns, and then we'll go back to the drawing board as far as actually looking at what the next steps are. One thing I will point, reviewing all the documents that were signed, again, the contracts for our design team were initiated by the engineering department and approved by the Board of Public Works. Contracts themselves are fundamentally sound. It's actually truly the schematic side of things. No construction documents are being developed out of this. So it truly is effectively helping come up with what is possible before we move to the next step. Obviously, once we get feedback from neighbors, and if it takes multiple attempts, we'll do that. If we need additional dialogue, we'll ultimately present schematic plans to the park board for your review and feedback before we ask for approval to move forward, if we move forward. So that's where we are currently. We want to take a deliberative process. The way it started is not how we would have done it, but we weren't in the lead at the beginning. We are trying to write it back to how we are. Again, the process, because of how it started, created angst that is, unfortunate. And we're trying to build the confidence of the neighbors to, with any project, not going to make 100% of the people happy, but we want to demonstrate that we're going to listen, that we are going to make decisions based on facts as far as what is and isn't feasible from a constructability standpoint, as well as feedback that we receive from the public. So I think that there's at least some degree of appreciation. I can't say that we've eliminated all the angst, but we're working on it so that they understand that we're going to use a CCPR process for this project and not sort of what was going down the tracks originally.
Is this what the two gentlemen were here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've heard from at least one other person since then, not associated with those gentlemen, but they certainly got her stirred up.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it closely now. So thank you. I did have one more question, and I probably should have asked it earlier. I didn't want to put Mike on the spot. And I'm going to direct this a little bit towards Eric, and that is chlorine cost. Have those stabilized since the chlorine factory burned down, or are they surged up? Are they now just staying high?
That's a good question. I
The
appreciate you going towards me, but I don't have to deal with that quite as much anymore.
Well, I just figured you might know, so.
The cost of chlorine has stabilized, and we additionally we switched to a different vendor that was going to give us a better price as well. So we were predominantly using Spear for that. Now we're using Buddenbaum.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just know at the home level, it's still double, well, almost triple what it was initially. So.
Oh man. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And then one final thing I did want to say as part of my director's report, and unfortunately the team has left, but I do want to commend Curtis and our division directors for their excellent job in preparing the 2026 budget. It truly is a team effort. The process started effectively in March, April. So we've been working on it for a period of time. There's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of analysis, and Curtis, especially in his role as Chief Operating Officer, helps guide and lead that process to bring it to the park board. So I want to commend Curtis and the entire team for their involvement in it. They've done a phenomenal job, and I think part of the success of it is that we expect our division directors to not only look at the budget when they're preparing it, but throughout the year so that they truly understand it and can put together a realistic budget. So I think that helps tremendously, but it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them any less. They do a phenomenal job. Our next steps with regard to the budget is we have presented, especially the components that require city funding, to the mayor last week. Had a very positive reception. Obviously, they're working through a lot of different things. The original budget proposals from all the city departments, as well as those entities like us funded by the city or receiving funding from the city, came in about $15 million over their target. So they're having to whittle it down. As Curtis said, we've identified some safety release valves that if they need to take some out of our general fund budget or the 103, 1101 non-capital funding, we've identified where we would recommend that they do that. Obviously, we want all the money, but we've provided that. I feel very optimistic that we'll receive the funding that we need to provide the services that the community expects, and appreciate the reception that we had from the mayor and her leadership team. And the next step will be a park, actually for me and for, as it relates to parks, will be a city council budget workshop on September 16th. Exact time hasn't been released yet, but I'll be giving a similar update as Curtis and the team did to the city council, reviewing all of our budgets, although the city council really only has to weigh in from a big picture perspective on the general fund and 1101 cash account for 103. With that, though, again, if there's any additional questions, happy to address them.
Thanks, Michael.
Can I clarify what you just said? September 16th is when the budget will be, you'll be doing it at city council?
Yes, that's when we'll do the traditional budget workshops with city council. I do believe that in early September, the mayor and chief financial officer will be presenting the city's overall budget proposal at that time, but that's
different than this.
Yes.
This is our typical.
This
time
is
to
a
present.
typical where we're having the dialogue with the council.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So continuing on to information items, Jonathan's not here for Plan Commission. John for School Board.
Just two quick things. I want to continue to shout out park staff. Jen was great. If you haven't heard the news, there will be an extra week of summer for Carmel students next summer. Memorial Day is moving a little bit, so we're pushing back the first week of school in August of 2026. So, but before that went to the board for a vote, we reached out to Jen and made sure that there would be an opportunity for some extended summer programming, because that was the one concern that we saw or chatter we had heard. And so that was graciously received. So it was officially approved last night at the school board meeting. So school will start on August 12th. 2026, which is a full week later, and still end in time for Memorial Day. So thank you to the calendar gods who shift the calendar every 5 or 6 years and allow us to do that. One other item I would just bring to your attention, if you're interested, Dr. Oestreich unveiled the 2025 to 2028 strategic plan for the school district last night in draft form, so it won't be voted on for another couple of weeks, but it is posted on the school district website if you're curious, and would love for you to take a chance to take a look because of the great partnership that we have together. So that's all.
Thanks, John. Climate Action Committee, Advisory Committee, sorry. Eric.
It's a long, lengthy titled committee, but a couple things to report on that. One item that we were able to actually mark off complete, which is great, was there is, under the transportation section, there was a initiative to look at doing a commuter line feasibility study. What the Department of Community Services did was actually contract to do an overall transportation study. And so that was completed in early May and has been sent over to a couple different other officials in the city. I don't believe it's made public yet on what that report says necessarily, but they did have some initial short-term recommendations on micromobility, as well as some kind of midterm and long-term solutions for some other transportation items. So that study is at least done, but then the city's in the process then of kind of digesting that and figuring out what those strategies may need to be. So that's nice that we were able to kind of check one of our boxes off our list. Aside from that, I'm working really closely with the street department and the water department, really looking at analyzing how much turf the city has under its umbrella, and how much it manages with irrigation as well as mowing services and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that working with Brian Mert at the street department, really looking at where there might be opportunities to kind of save on some of those costs for the city by implementing more of the structure that the Parks Department uses, using more native plants, more drought-resistant planting, and naturalizing a couple areas where that might be feasible. So that's one of the things that we're working kind of heavily on.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And Judy's not here with the Park Foundation. Michael, did you have any updates for us tonight?
I don't particularly have any updates. Obviously, we have had the summer fun run campaign that has seemed to be very well received by the participants. A lot of, as I'm hearing people pick up the shirts throughout the last number of weeks, the amount of feedback that I just hear from the individuals interacting with Joyce, our executive assistant, is people discovering our parks. And I think that's been really rewarding to hear about. And I've had the opportunity to talk with a couple of the people. So providing some funding to the foundation, providing a lot of awareness to the park. So I think that's been a successful campaign. Mark and Katie, I know that you both serve on the foundation board as well. So anything that I'm leaving out since last month?
No, we don't have a meeting scheduled at this time, and I haven't heard the results yet. The fun run. I'm eagerly looking to see how successful it was.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark and Michael. This time we'll do park board comments and or discussion. Starting at this side, anyone? No? And then this side. Okay, fantastic. I will take a motion for adjournment at this time. Someone has to first move.
Move to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
And then, perfect, so moved. Our meeting will close at 8:06.